Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pace Studio on the Road. We're on site at MerleFest right now in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Thanks to our friends at Window World with Béla Fleck. Béla, thank you for joining us.
Oh, nice to be here. Hey.
We're about to share 3 songs with our audience right now. I know that I actually don't know for sure. We'll find out together whether it includes songs from the Chick Corea, the duo album you did with him, whether it includes the homage to George Gershwin, the Rhapsody in Blue record. We'll all find out together. What do you feel like doing right now?
That's pretty likely, but I'll just start playing and we'll see what happens. Is that what we're doing now? I'm just going to start playing and see what happens. All right, let's see what happens. Piece entitled Whatever.
Well, thank you for coming here and improvising and creating new pieces right in front of our eyes here at MerleFest. Thanks for taking the time to make this part of your MerleFest experience. I would love to know more about the Chick Corea record, and
Sure.
I know that he was a big part of your life for a very long time. And tell us about how that album came to be.
Yeah, well, Chick Corea is one of the most inspiring musicians in the world, and I had the incredible fortune both to hear him when I was about 17 years old and experience what he was up to, which became a formative experience for me in that I wanted to do that from then on. Whatever he was up to, that's what I wanted to do when I heard his band and when I heard his music. So over the years, I somehow got to know him and got to perform with him quite a bit. And in fact, we had a duet, and he lived up to the hype, like me as a grown-up musician, still in awe of him every single day. So we toured probably for 10 or 15 years as a duo. I got to go all over the world with him, Japan, Russia, you name it. And it was often just me and him riding around, being driven somewhere to something, first class, because it was Chick Corea. So it was a different experience for me all the way. But near the end of, I guess it was May of 2019, which was pandemic year, was that?
Yeah,
so it was 19.
Around that time.
We went on tour, and we did a tour, and we'd been playing some music from a record we'd made some years back called The Enchantment. We'd get together for a couple weeks or maybe a month every year, so we didn't learn any music for about 10 years. We just played that music, and it got longer and longer and longer. The more we got to know it, we would just explore it and have all this fun. But this particular tour, I said, hey, Chick, I'm going to bring some new tunes. And he said, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to bring some new tunes, too. So on that tour, we had about 9 new things on stage, and we performed them every night for about 2 weeks. And at the end of it, I said, hey, I'll come, to where you live, and we can record it. It'll be easy. We'll lay it down. He said, we just did, Béla, and he was really into live and what was happening in the moment. He said, I don't think we're going to do it any better than we just did it. But he said, but you're the producer now, so you go and listen and then tell me what we got. So I put it off because, frankly, I thought I was going to suck on this stuff. But finally, during the pandemic, I started to get some time, and so I sort of lifted the lid on those tapes and started listening and discovered happily that there was a lot of great stuff in there. In fact, every song happened some night in this 2-week tour. So, everything was covered and in style, like really good. So I started sending him these tracks and saying, what do you think about this one? And he signed off on everything. And then the pandemic started going on, and so one day he got in touch and said, hey, I'm sending you a track. Would you want to play on it? And so he sent me a solo piano track, and I worked on it real hard and sent it back to him, and he loved it. And he said, now it's your turn. Now you write something and send it to me. And so we started doing all these. He called them pandemic games. And a lot of sort of games where he'd play. I'm going to play for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to send it to you. Then you play for 30 seconds, and then I'll do it. And then one day I said, hey, Chick, I always love it when you do those introductions. Whatever song he does an introduction to, it's unbelievable, and it's free. And I said, why don't you do like a few of those introductions, like 2-minute just play off the top of your head for 2 minutes and end it. And so he sent me 5 of those, and then I played on those, because usually I would never want to jump in because I didn't want to mess him up, because it was genius and I didn't know what I was going to do. But in this case, I could sort of listen to it over and over and try and find a part for myself. And he loved those too. And then he got sick and he died, and that was it. So now, which was an incredible loss to me, but also like an end to that whole experience. So I fell in love with Chick's music. I got to know him. We got to play a lot of music. We made a final record, and then he passed. It's like that's the whole story. But now this record is about to come out, and there's a lot of beautiful music that no one's heard before, new tunes by him, and the new things by me. And so maybe I'll try one of his, see if I can get through it solo without the piano.
Yeah, please, we'd love to hear it. The record is Remembrance. It's out May 10th.
It's called Remembrance.
It's comforting to hear you say that you had some hesitation to listen to yourself play. It's comforting to know that you're one of the all-time greats on this instrument, and even you experienced that same level of self-doubt. And you're not
it's
sure.
part of trying to get better is turning a critical eye on yourself. But if you always just there's 2 different brains you got to have. It's like you have to have the critical. You got to have the critical brain, but not while you're performing. Like while you're performing, you've got to be open and accept everything that you've done as being the best thing that could have possibly happened, and react to it and play with full open heart. But then afterwards, you got to come back and assess it if you're going to put on a record, and you got to go, well, what could be better? How could I do better for next time? What's good here, and how do I want to improve? Otherwise, you get stuck, and so too much self-love doesn't move you forward necessarily. But too much self-hate is sort of a terrible way to progress too. So you got to find that middle ground. Yeah.
So that's a great way to put it, and we're very much looking forward to hearing one of these songs off of.
Okay, let me see what I can do
Remembrance.
for that. Let me check my tuning, and then I'll give it a shot. This is Remembrance. Well, there's a wind that's come up. There's a sticky people. Okay, ready? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great way to remember your longtime friend, collaborator, Chick Corea, on the record Remembrance. It comes out May 10th. And more new music. You've got a record called Rhapsody in Blue, which was, can you tell us a little bit more about what resonates with you
Sure.
about Gershwin and what drove you to create this record?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City, and when I was about, I don't know, somewhere between 6 and 8, my uncle Steve took me to an old movie theater to see a movie called Rhapsody in Blue, which was this, I think, 1943 picture about George Gershwin's life and about that piece of music. And it knocked me out as a little kid. I was, it was a perfect age to hear something like that, and it stuck with me. And it turned out, I found out some years later that George Gershwin lived on the other side of the same block that I lived in. So there's a real New York element to George Gershwin's music that we all sort of see it as our music, our special home music. But something about that piece where he found a way to combine the jazz world and the classical world in a way that just made a fabulous piece of music that has stood the test of time. In fact, people have been trying to do that ever since, and nobody's really come up with a piece that has galvanized people's imagination, combining those two musics the way he did. It's part of American culture now, so it's one of our great pieces. So again, during the pandemic, I found myself thinking about that piece and thinking about whether the piano part, which is quite intense and involved and technically difficult, was possible on the banjo or any part of it. And now suddenly I had time, because I'd thought about it many, many times ever since hearing it as a kid. But now I had time, and so I just started working on it a measure at a time, seeing what could I actually play. And by the end of the pandemic, I had a sort of workable version, and I happened to mention it to the CEO of the Nashville Symphony, because he was asking me to sign a banjo for an auction or something, and I said, oh, by the way, you're going to think this is funny. And he said, no, I don't think it's funny. In fact, we're putting it on the gala for the opening of the season, in September, so get it ready. I was like, okay, now this has got real. And so that got me to start simplifying the version I had, which was almost impossible to play because I was trying to get as much of the piano part as possible. And gradually, I just kept refining it down until it was actually playable. Because now I'm going to have to play it with an orchestra in front of people. So and banjofying a few more things here and there to make that happen. So there's that. And then I decided I should record it, because once I put in all the work to play it, and I should go ahead and record it while it's in my hands. And it happened to be that the 100th anniversary was coming up of the piece, which coincides, George Gershwin wrote this in the 3 or 4 weeks before February 12th, which was the premiere. I think he may have forgotten he was supposed to write it, and all of a sudden it was I think his brother Ira said, hey, you got that thing, don't forget about that thing. And he was like, oh my God, I forgot all about it. And so he wrote this piece super fast and dashed it off, and they played it, and it was a huge hit at Carnegie, at the Aeolian Hall, actually, is where it was. So, but interesting point of fact is that Earl Scruggs, our banjo hero, was born on January 6th of 1924, which was just about a month and 6 days before this piece was premiered. And in fact, Gershwin didn't start writing the piece till after Earl Scruggs was born. So I think that gives me a right to banjofy it a little bit. So we'll see what happens if I can get through it today. But Rhapsody in Blue. And a little tuning. It's cold. Okay. Wish me luck.
That was great. Thank you so much for stopping by, making this part of your MerleFest, and best of luck on the record Remembrance. It comes out May 10th, the final duo project between you and Chick Corea, and the Rhapsody in Blue record as well. Thank you for sharing the music with us.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, see you next time.